Okay, so the next topic that we'll be discussing is about the purpose of embedded system as listed here. It varies from data collection, storage, representation, communication, processing, monitoring, control to application specific user interface. Okay, let's see what exactly it is. Let's start with the very first concept, that is data collection, storage and representation. When you start thinking about this topic, very first thing you should understand is what exactly do you mean by data here. Okay, and that is defined in this particular line, which states that when you say data, okay, it is any sort of information. Now this information could be text, voice, image, video, electrical signals or any other measurable quantities. Okay, that is the first thing we should know. Next, should this data be only analog or only digital? No, it can be either analog or it can be even digital. What do you mean by analog signal? These are the continuous waveforms or continuous signals which are generally available in the nature. Okay, and then we humans convert it into digital signals which are discrete values. Okay, now as specified here, the whole purpose of this particular category of embedded system will be to collect the data. Okay, and after collecting the data from the external world, maybe you will store it, analyze it, manipulate the data or even send it away to some other system. Okay, fine. And as we can see here, the collected data can be stored, transmitted or it can even be processed or deleted. Any of these operations can be carried out, but our focus here is on the initial part wherein we collect the data, store it and represent it in some format. Okay, now when you think about all these features, what exact electronic gadget comes to your mind which performs all this task? And one of the easy examples for this could be a digital camera. If you see a digital camera, what is done with that? If you look around and find a beautiful scenery, the immediate thing that you do is nothing but click a picture of that. Okay, so the action of clicking the picture is nothing but collection of data, and once you click the picture, okay, it is saved in the memory. Okay, that is the storage part, and once it is saved in the memory, you can click on that particular file to view that particular image. That is nothing but the representation, and to represent it or view it, we do it through graphic LCD unit. Okay, fine. The next concept is data communication. Now as the term says, okay, any embedded system which is used for collecting some particular data and sending it, that is nothing but this category based embedded system. Okay, so embedded data systems are deployed in applications ranging from complex cases like satellite communication, okay, or just your home networking systems. Fine. And the means through which you are sending and receiving data could be wired or wireless. Okay, both are possible. And here one more thing which is possible is, now in the previous category we saw that embedded systems are used to collect some data. Now in the same whatever device which is used to collect the data, it might have some small components or modules, maybe wireless or wired modules, through which data can be sent to the next system. That is also possible. But as an example for this, we'll consider those systems like hubs, routers, switches, whose whole purpose is just to receive the data and send the data. Okay, they are like mediators in data communication. Rather than just receiving and sending, they make sure any hackers or anyone are not able to access these datas. Okay, so they ensure data security and also monitoring. Next is signal processing. When you say signal processing, okay, it basically includes lot of tasks like maybe generating the required human like speech using machines, okay, compressing them, okay, compression, decompression of audio video signals or even transmission of those data. Any sort of task that you perform or any sort of modification that you perform on your voice, image, video, electrical or any other quantity or any other data, okay, is called as signal processing. Here we just vary the features of the signal, okay, as per the requirement. One example for this could be a digital hearing aid. As you already know, some of you might be already aware of how this works. What happens here is it collects the external voice or data, okay, and after collecting it, it will remove the noise present in that. After removing the noise, it will amplify the signal and feed it to the human ear. Okay, if anyone has some issues in hearing capacity, in that particular case they can use this particular device. Next is monitoring. Okay, now if you consider medical equipments, there are a lot of medical equipments which are designed only for monitoring of some signals which are generated from human body. Okay, an example for that could be electrocardiogram machine, okay, which checks the heartbeat. Fine. Now this particular machine, what you have to remember is it will only monitor the heartbeat. It has no control over the heartbeat. Okay, you can through that you can visualize and see what exactly is the current rate at which the human heart is beating. And other than that, we have other examples like CRO, digital multimeters, etc. CRO stands for crystal oscillator here. Okay, these are devices through which you can visualize electrical signals passing through your devices. Okay, and at the same time, digital multimeters are nothing but these are the devices through which voltage, current and other parameters of the electronic circuits can be measured. So control, one thing that we noticed in the previous cases, we can check all the values in the case of monitoring component, but we cannot modify it. This does the next task. In this case, you can literally modify the output based on the input changes. That is what is told here. That is the embedded system with control functionalities impose control over some variables according to changes in input variable. Okay, so they always have sensors and actuators. Sensors and actuators are those devices, okay, which will convert one form of energy to another. What do you mean by that? That is, if you consider sensors, then let's assume there is some changes in the external parameter that will be measured and it produces electrical signals, and these electrical signals, if they are passed to actuators, based on those signals this will generate some sort of action or motion, okay, or in other words mechanical energy. Okay, so this converts various forms of energy into electrical energy. This converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. Okay, now usually sensors are connected to the input port for capturing the changes, and based on whatever value is obtained there, okay, actuators connected to the output port, okay, and they are modified, their actions are modified based on the sensor output. Okay, so if you consider AC, this is a very simple example for control based embedded units. Okay, now if you consider room temperature, to measure that there will be some sensors, okay, or it could be thermistor. Thermistors are nothing but resistors whose resistance value changes as per the temperature. Okay, and then handheld unit are used for setting up the desired temperature. Handheld unit here refers to your remote control through which you are modifying the or setting up the required temperature. Next is application specific user interface. Okay, what do you mean by application specific user interface? These are all those components like buttons, switches, keypad, etc., through which you can either feed some input to the embedded system or collect some data as an output, or you can visualize the data as an output. Okay, and phone could be an easy example. If you notice here, in some places we say that okay, smartphones are not embedded systems, and in other place we say mobile phone is an example here. So the point is, when we say mobile phone here, you can consider all those mobile phones which were used in early generations. Okay, fine, maybe Nokia 3310 and previous versions of that. could possibly be considered here. If you notice them, they have a narrow range of functions, maybe making a call, very simple games, or maybe a message. Yes, all these are possible. But if you consider smartphones, which we use nowadays, they are capable of performing almost all the functions that you can do in a computer. So smartphones will never come under embedded systems, but the old versions of mobile phones can be easily included under embedded system, something like this. Okay.